Good afternoon, everybody. This is Inigo. It's the 12th. No, it's the 9th of December. Welcome to the Voluntary Exchange Podcast. Today, we're just going to talk about some news on Corona and some other stuff about the NDAA, which passed the House, and just the insanity that we continue to live in. So I thought this meme was great. The clowns, the COVID, I'm calling them COVID clowns, but right now they're COVID clowns, but they could be Iraq war clowns or pretty much blue-pilled clowns, where they think they're, virtuous and fighting the man, but they have the exact same political views as everybody in power. So before we get to COVID, I wanted to talk about this. Last night, the House voted on the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, and it passed overwhelmingly with an above veto-proof majority. This funds the military for the next year. This also includes, as Justin Amash is noting here, the provision for indefinite detention without trial. And in this year's NDAA, it voted on, it included banning or halting any troop withdrawals from Afghanistan, Iraq, South Korea, Germany, and I think maybe even Syria, without quote-unquote definitive proof or goals or whatever, something bullshit. So that'll stop any Trump plans to withdraw troops from Afghanistan. More Democrats voted for this than Republicans did, and as Jimmy Dore mentioned on his show, that includes at least 60 from the Progressive Caucus, or there's 60 in the Progressive Caucus, and some of them must have voted for this. So just to show the decent Biden supporters who wanted to bring decorum and decency back to America, you voted for the party that right now the majority of does not want to bring the troops home, because Trump wants to bring the troops home. So that means we no longer are anti-war. So that's something to think about as the left is spiraling and hiding in their houses while they continue to get ready for the coming vaccine to save them from the COVID virus. So this article was going around last night. Thaddeus Russell shared this on his Twitter. This guy Jordan wrote this. Everyone is wearing a mask. They just don't work. And I've been talking about this with my ex-friends, I guess you could say, where they yell and they scream and they laugh at people who are not wearing masks, or the one person in the store that isn't wearing the mask, and how that person is going to be the reason that everybody else gets infected and they all die from COVID. When the science does not bear that out, it hasn't bared that out in months, and the follow science crew have completely abandoned any semblance of science. So what this guy does is he uses some of the quotes from some of our favorite governors and mayors, and he uses some of the quotes that I'm talking about. If everybody would just wear a mask, we'd be able to crush the virus and end the pandemic. You're the problem. You're the reason the pandemic is still a problem in this country. Wear a mask. Wear a mask. So here you have Andrew Cuomo. Hospitalizations are up. Wear a mask. Gavin Newsom. Wear a mask. Wear a mask. Don't let your guard down. Wear a mask. And then my favorite, Mr. Murphy, mask up. And here's my pictures and my graphs. And then Mr. Fauci, universal and uniform wearing a mask, avoiding crowded areas and situations, keeping physically distant. And he goes on to discuss the things I've been saying. The idea that not enough Americans are wearing masks is detached from reality, and there's data to prove it. The Delphi group at Carnegie Mellon University has developed, and I'll open it so you can see it. It's an interactive tracker of percentages where people are wearing masks and where they are not wearing masks. So let's go to New York. In New York, Nassau County, 96% of people are wearing masks. Kings County, 97. Queens County, let's go all the way in. Let's go to the island. 97. New Jersey, 94, 92, 96, 97, 97. 85 out there in the... So where are they not wearing masks? Idaho doesn't give a fuck, and it's still at 77%. And then it breaks it down by, at a location for more, it displays bar visits. This has everything available to it. The overwhelming majority of Americans are wearing masks. This is what I've been saying, that they were saying for a while that 80% was hyped. When lockdowns failed to spread, masking up at 80% was hyped as a way to do more to reduce COVID-19 spread than a strict lockdown. We're now above 95% in most places, and the spread, as I showed in my graphs last time, the cases continue to go up. So he breaks it down here. They have their magical little visual simulations show why we all need to wear masks. Mask up now. We will not be able to flatten the curve, says this guy at Berkeley. We will be able to significantly reduce the spread of the virus and return to normal life sooner rather than later. And then he has San Francisco 97, New York 97, DC 97, Dallas Fort Worth 94, Philly 96, Chicago 95, Miami 96, Seattle 96. So the masks don't work. Again, I'm not saying you shouldn't wear a mask. I'm not saying that if you feel scared, you shouldn't wear a mask. I'm saying you shouldn't ridicule and demonize people that are wearing masks and continue to put the spread of the virus on them as a scapegoat to hide behind the just fact of the matter that nobody knows what's going on and how to stop the spread of this virus. And you should probably lean on the side of freedom instead of continued lockdowns and demonizing your fellow man. So I'll link to this article below. Then, of course, we go to the vaccine, which, everybody's saying that, once we get the vaccine, we don't have to wear masks and we can go back to normal. Well, if this article today from the New York Times, which I know all my buddies the COVID cult will jump right behind this. The New York Times, the coronavirus vaccines will probably prevent you from getting sick with COVID-19. But it's not yet clear whether you can still get infected. You can still get infected asymptomatically and silently spread the virus. So even after the vaccine, you need to wear your mask. Now, again, I wouldn't be that upset if this was just the New York Times saying that, but when you go to the comment section and you go to the comments on Twitter and Facebook and you see what people are saying, you'll see that they're in a cult. they're saying things like, I mean, this makes so much sense to me. I can't believe I never wore a mask before this pandemic. I'm going to be wearing a mask well into the future to protect myself from germs and cold. And this is something we should all have been doing forever. And, you have to wear your mask. Even if, as I said, the masks don't stop the spread of the virus, the vaccine might not stop the spread of the virus, but you have to wear your mask to stop the spread of the virus. It doesn't make sense. And again, you can have your views, but you cannot do this virtue signaling nonsense where you think you are morally superior to people who don't wear masks, because you literally are on the side of nonsense. Moving on from there, we have some news coming in. Oh, first we have this guy, Mr. Murphy. He's moved to complaining about non-compliance with COVID contact tracers. So first it was people weren't wearing the masks. Then it was people aren't abiding by the lockdowns. People are going and gathering. It was Thanksgiving, and now it's upwards of three-fourths of people are not going to follow the COVID contact tracers. They're not answering the phone. They don't care because they like freedom and privacy. And these authoritarians are spazzing out because they can't get their compliance. There's a video going around today. I won't play it because I don't really condone this kind of stuff. But it was a let's see if I can find it though. It was a video compilation of local health officials on Zoom meetings and them crying that people are outside their houses protesting. And it's like, well, you're taking away their freedom and destroying their lives, so you're going to get protested. And you want to stick them with a vaccine, which, as I talked about the other day, has side effects that the manufacturers are warning about. And now we have this to come out today from Time Magazine, straight from the UK regulator themselves and Pfizer, that the UK regulator says people with severe allergies should not receive Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. This lady has no gloves on, by the way. She's giving this lady a vaccine, by the way. UK medicines regulator has warned England's health service not to give the Pfizer vaccine to people with significant history of allergic reactions after 2 people received it on Tuesday developed reactions. The advice comes just after a day hospitals began administering the vaccine to patients and medics on Tuesday, making UK the first country to roll out. Of course it's UK, by the way. It's just, they have the Queen, they still run everything, in my opinion. So is this anti-vaxxing to point this out, that the company that is producing the vaccine and the government regulatory body is stating that that not everybody should get the vaccine? Isn't that what this is saying? Sorry, I had a little spaz there with the OSB. In a statement, Stephen Powis, National Medical Director at the National Health Services. As is common with new vaccines, the MHRA have devised a precautionary basis that people with significant history of allergic reactions do not receive this vaccine after 2 people with a history of allergic reactions responded. So, again, they will move the goalposts and they will say, well, it's just people, it's not everybody. But you told me that questioning any vaccine science is anti-vax, anti-science crazy talk. Is it or is it not? And that's why I'm pushing back against this authoritarian cult mob speak that's taking place when it comes to this COVID stuff. We are out of the woods in terms of science. We have the data, we have the science. You cannot tell your neighbor that he's a terrible human that's killing people because he doesn't want to wear a mask and not get a vaccine. Can't. So that's, we also have the story about that's going around of Texas and Louisiana have sued Pennsylvania and against for voter fraud, and it's being denied by the Supreme Court, and they're pushing to see if that's going to change the election results. I don't think it's going to work, but I am following that. I've had Tim Pool on a lot today. He's obsessed with it, so he likes to cover it, and he does go down the rabbit hole. But that's really where I was at today with everything, is just this COVID thing. Oh, and then also right before I went live, let's see if I can find it. I think it's on my Twitters. YouTube sent out letters to some of their creators. I think Dave Rubin had it up. Mr. Dave. Is it David Rubin? He on here is David? No, he's Dave. Dave. Okay. Holy shit, just got this email from YouTube. Starting today, they will remove content about election fraud, even though there are court cases about election fraud going through the system. So here's what he shares. We just shared an update on YouTube's election efforts, including how we're handling community guidelines pertaining to election-related misinformation. Our policies disallow content alleging that widespread fraud or errors change the outcome of the historical U.S. presidential election. We allow this type of commentary for current elections as election officials work to finalize counts. December 8th was the safe harbor deadline for the U.S. presidential election. States need to resolve contested elections by then. Enough states have now certified their election results to determine a president-elect. So there's still court cases. Texas, Louisiana are suing PA right now. They're being seen, and YouTube will immediately start removing content saying that there was election fraud. So that's like saying, are they going to start taking down quote unquote misinformation if you say that 9/11 was not exactly what the official story was, because it's been so long now that it has to be the history of what happened? So at no point in the future can you talk about the 2020 election and note that there might have been election fraud. You can't say that. You can't make claims. For example, we will remove videos claiming that a presidential candidate won the election as a result of widespread software glitches or counting errors. This is in line with our approach towards historical U.S. presidential elections. Content that's such a lie, because you can talk about JFK stealing the state of Illinois, and if you go on New York Times, they're not going to say that was a moment in history, but it's something that people discuss. But you don't see them deleting actual false things like Assad gassing his own people, WMDs, Gaddafi was going to slaughter everybody in Benghazi, Russia invaded Ukraine. All these nonsense things that are in the mainstream narrative are okay. They can stand. But if you question a mainstream narrative, if you have evidence or not, if you just question a mainstream narrative and you may end up being wrong or right, they don't want to hear it. But if you follow a mainstream narrative, even if that narrative is incorrect, you have nothing to worry about. So we'll see where YouTube goes. We'll see if I get taken down because I'm talking about election stuff. I'm not saying there was a fraud or not. I'm saying there's court cases that we need to wait to see what happens. Let's see if Tim Pool gets taken down in the future, Dave Rubin, and where everybody goes. For right now, I'm on YouTube. Not sure where I would go from here. I mean, I'm on BitChute, but I would need a place to upload my video, so if anybody has any ideas, feel free to throw them into the comment section. All right, guys, well, that'll be it for today. Let me download this picture. How do you download it? Save. Nope. I'll do this later. All right. So, again, this has been Inigo. This is the Voluntary Exchange Podcast. As you move closer to Christmas, don't forget to hug your family, see your family. As we go into 2021, understand that, we're heading into a world where there might be people that you were friends with, that you were close with, that are just never going to come back to reality. And you have to be ready and prepared to deal with that future. But no despair. Maybe next, I'll try to do a video maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday. I'm going to start maybe bringing up some photos of things that I'm doing in my own life. I started making bread, sourdough bread, and growing some plants inside, and just trying to get off the grid as much as possible, because this system is clearly eroding, and the people are cheerleading its erosion. And when they start having barriers to entry, like if they start, continue with the mask thing for another year, and another vaccine thing, I don't want to participate in that world. I don't want to be around those scared, terrified people and deal with their stress levels. I just don't. So I won't be. So I'm moving to try to be as self-sufficient as possible, but you need to build a community to do so. So find people that have like-minded views, and are willing to do the work to take on the personal responsibility of not relying on this system. So yeah, that's going to be it. I'll talk to you guys soon, and have a good rest of your day.